What's up, YouTube? This is the Sesh podcast inaugural episode. This is just basically going to be a podcast where Daniel Lee and myself, JP, aka Jordan, whatever you want to call me, known in the world as J Mune, you can basically talk about anything. We're going to talk about the Silks Poker Room, the people who work at the Silks, the people who play at the Silks, interesting hands. We're going to talk about all kinds of things from the spectrum of sports, entertainment, all kinds of shit. So it's going to be a podcast focused mostly on the Silks and some poker, but it really could go in any direction. Let me introduce my co-host, Dan Lee. What's up, Dan Lee?
What's up, man? First of all, that was like the longest intro in the history of intros, but Jordan is right. We play at this card room called the Tampa Bay Downs Silks Poker Room, for those of you guys who don't know, based out of Tampa, Florida. Me and Jordan have been playing poker for quite a while, and that's just our little spot that we go. And there's, aside from poker, there's a lot of interesting stuff that goes on there, a lot of interesting people, and that's the basis of this show pretty much, alongside with what he said, sports, world news, stuff like that. But for the most part, that's what we're going to be diving into on these podcasts.
And keep in mind, we're not experts on any of this shit. We like to think we play poker all right, but, obviously, as far as sports, world news, if you're getting your fucking opinion based from Dan Lee and I about world news, you're going to struggle in your life. But it's okay, because we have interesting opinions on all kinds of shit. So basically, just want to start tonight off with, it's Friday night. It's usually a pretty busy night at the Silks where we play. Dan Lee, how'd you do tonight?
The last month or so, it's been a struggle, probably, actually I did the numbers today. I played 14 sessions this month so far. I've lost half of them, which for me is, unsustainable. It's below average. But tonight, I played twice, won over $1,000. I had a solid session for once, ran well. I think I played pretty good. Got into a few hands that, kind of defined my night. So overall, I did pretty good today.
Yeah, we happen to be at the same table. I can't say I didn't see you get out of line too often. I thought you played all right. You got a nice gift, but
see, this is the thing with Jordan. You guys need to understand. He can never just have a serious conversation with somebody, and it irks him. It pains him to compliment somebody for being a good player or doing well for the night.
I have no problem complimenting a good player if there is one to be complimented. But
okay, anyway, so I won $850 tonight, and we played from 8 to midnight, so a 4-hour session, which is pretty typical, pretty average, at least for me nowadays. I can't put in these long, crazy sessions like I used to. But to come to think of it, there was only one big hand that I got involved in, and it was towards the end of the night when I pretty much coolered somebody in a hand. So I don't know.
How'd that hand play out? I remember, so I was in this hand, obviously.
So
I drove sick, actually.
There was a straddle to $6. And Jordan was in the small blind. He made it 16. I'm in the big blind with 10-9 of clubs. And I called. And I think they ended up getting, 5 callers or something?
Yeah,
something
like
that.
5 or 6-handed.
We're 6-handed. I have 10-9 of clubs. And the flop comes out Jack 6-7 rainbow. Jordan surprisingly checks. He usually likes to continue and just try and take every pot down. He reminds me of my good friend Willie, who just never likes to give up. There's no give up in him, which I like. In poker, you gotta have heart. So
first of all, what he's talking about with me is completely incorrect. I pick my spots where I make continuation, but for the most part, I play pretty solid, no craziness. Yeah, so the flop came pretty good for Dan Lee, especially with his hand. For my hand, not so much. So I check.
It didn't come great. It came Jack 6-7, no club. I checked, and somehow got checked around. The turn was pretty interesting. The turn was offsuit 8. So I make the nuts straight, the best hand possible. Jordan checks again. And with all these people in the hand, I decided to go ahead and make a pretty decent sized bet. I think there was $100 in the pot, and I put out a bet of 70. The player next to me, we'll call them player X, decided to raise, and she made it 150. So essentially a min raise. Folds around back to me, and this is the thing with a lot of players that play when this kind of stuff happens. A lot of times it is like a call, like a trap. maybe go for like a check raise on the river. But I know with this particular player that she has to have a pretty strong hand to be raising me.
Also, it's a woman. So
it was a woman.
Oh, player X is not a woman.
Player X is a woman.
Correct.
I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman, but it was a lady, and she decided to raise me to $150 from my originally $70 bet. So, knowing that she has a pretty strong hand, I decided to put in another raise. I have the best hand possible. At worst, we're chopping, but there's a pretty good chance I have her crushed. I might even have her drawing dead. So I decided to put in another raise, and I made it 225. And like without hesitation, she just moves all in. Obviously, a snap call. I don't care what she has. I have the best hand possible. And at this point, there's over $1,000 in the middle. Somehow, a $100 pot on the turn turned into a $1,000 pot by the river. And we had agreed to run it twice, but it really didn't matter because she was drawing to a chop.
Yeah, she had chop.
She had 9-5 on Jack 8-6-7, so she had straight to the 9, the second nut straight, and I had straight to the Jack, the nut straight. And she could not improve on either board, and I scoop a really nice pot to end the session because I was just kind of up and down most of the night. But that hand really kind of put me, into the game for the night. And Jordan was mad, I know, because he told me he wasn't leaving until this particular player lost all her chips. I think he was thinking it was going to be to him, but I guess I beat him to the punch. I don't know.
I didn't really mean it in a negative way. I just meant the way this person was playing, she's very active. She's in a lot of pots. She's, probably overvaluing a lot of her hands in weird spots. So I was just hoping to make a decent hand, kind of like Daniel made. I mean, I didn't need the nuts probably, but he just happened to make the nuts, and she happened to make the second nuts. It's pretty bad cooler. I mean, she didn't do anything wrong in the hand, just unfortunate. You could switch the two hands. Daniel could have the 9-5.
I would never put a 9-5, by the way, just letting you guys know.
But either way, I mean, the money's going in, and that's kind of unfortunate.
See, I feel like the fact that she lost her stack, to me, kind of irks you a little bit.
I mean, first of all, don't ever let it be said that Jordan doesn't root for his friends, okay? So I was definitely happy for you, but
there's always a but.
Disappointed that I wasn't going to have a shot at the free 600 that she was going to go.
I just feel like out of all the other 8 players at the table that weren't you, I was probably the last person you wanted those chips to go to. Because first of all, if it goes to me, it's going to be a hard time getting there. If it went to somebody like, who was there? Pretty much anybody but me.
Yeah, I was going to say, that table.
There's probably a good chance that you're, getting those chips in the middle. But because it's me and my tight reputation, I'm probably the last person that you wanted to get her stack. But, worked out for me. I booked a nice $850 win after some recent struggles. So it feels good to finally, book a nice solid win for once.
See, the thing about the Silks, it's a very small poker room. Most of the people who play there are regulars, so we know pretty much everyone in the room. Occasionally, you'll get a table where you maybe only know 2 or 3 people at the table. That's kind of rare. Our table tonight was interesting. I mean, some interesting players that I hadn't played with a bunch. Some players maybe that I had played with some, but it was definitely a table I felt like was very profitable for me if I was running well, playing well. I mean, I did not play the greatest session today. I won't lie. Probably not my A game. We did book a small win,
and that's all that really matters. As long as you win. I mean, yes, I understand that. Sometimes you'll play poorly and still win, but I mean, the results speak for themselves. Obviously, things you have to work on, things that you didn't do right today, things you can improve on in the future. So,
yeah, I mean that's gonna happen. My thing is, I try not to be results oriented. Even though I won, I felt like I didn't play great. I got in some weird spots, a couple hands.
Yeah, let's talk about that one hand where you had
you don't want to forget about this hand?
So, I talked about one of my hands. Might as well talk about one of yours, too. So, it was limp to you, and you made it 20. And then 2 players called. And the flop came out Jack 7-5 rainbow, correct?
That is correct.
So, checks to you, and you make a pretty sizable bet. You make a 45, and you get 2 callers. Don't know if you wanted 2 callers or if you just wanted to take the pot down on the flop.
So, I'm not going to tell you what my hand is yet. I want to hear what you think.
Okay.
So there were a couple limpers, and I made it 20. Got the 2 callers. The flop comes Jack 7-5 rainbow. For my hand, this is not a bad flop. So I let out for 45. I expected 1 caller. I was pretty sure Somebody connected to this board in some kind of way, but I did not expect 2 calls. The 2 calls kind of threw me off because the kid directly to my right, I hadn't played with a bunch, and while he was at the table, he didn't seem to be getting out of line. He did a lot of limp like folding, and a lot of fucking. He just wasn't involved, but he'd only been at the table for maybe about a half hour. So I really don't know a whole lot of how he's playing. The other kid in seat 9 who called my $45.
He was just a moron.
Yeah, I mean he wasn't. He wasn't extremely active, but he was a pretty weak player. So I wasn't too worried about him calling my 45. I feel like he's gonna call there with he'll call there with a random 7. He may even call with a fucking 5. And obviously he's calling with all jacks. So at this point, I'm okay with him calling the 45. The kid to the right of me calling the 45 was kind of surprising. I wasn't a big fan of it. So then the turn card came. It was a king. Was it a king of clubs?
It was a king. I don't think they put a flush draw out there, but it was an overcard.
It was an overcard.
And they checked to you
First of all, you don't even know what I have. It could be 2 aces in my hand. But anyway, it was an interesting.
It's not, because we're going to get to that in a second. So anyway, check the Jordan hand again.
So this is a card that I don't think should hit either one of them hardly ever. Like, the king is pretty useless. Unless you have king jack, like, this really doesn't hit you anyway. Like, I don't think anyone's floating the flop with king queen, for the random 45. I don't think anyone has, like, the random king 10 here. I mean, this king is pretty irrelevant card unless somebody has king jack. So the king is not really the card I'm too worried about. My hand still looks like it should be good. So, but I did make a small bet because I was worried about the kid to the right of me. The kid in seat 9 had about $130, and the other kid had
169. Because
169.
We'll get to that in a second as well.
So I made like kind of a small bet just because I was looking just to get called. If I got raised, I was going to be put in a weird spot. The one kid only had, if the one kid puts it in, I'm never folding. But I really was a little worried about. He wasn't the one I was really worried about. So anyway, I bet 70. The kid in seat 9 tanks for a little bit. He thinks about shoving, and then you could see he's obviously not happy with the situation and mucks his hand. Kid to the right of me all of a sudden stacks his chips, puts them all in the middle.
How'd you feel about that?
I wasn't a fan because this hand's really confusing here. This kid limp called my $20 pre-flop players. He called 45 on the Jack 5-7 rainbow board. And this king on the turn should be pretty irrelevant unless he has king jack, which I think is I think there's a really good chance that he is holding king jack here. I think probably a good amount of the time that's his hand here.
That's the only hand that he has, given the way the action went, especially the limping pre-flop, that he could realistically have. I don't think there's any other hand that he could possibly have.
I mean, you don't think he has 2 5s?
I don't think he has sets ever.
But why? Let me ask you why you don't think he has.
I just feel
you don't think he's limping 2 5s calling a $20
I think he is, but I don't think he's just flattening the flop with 2 people in. I think he wants to get some more money in the middle, especially with you showing strength, betting into 2 people. Like when you bet 45 in a 60, you're representing an overpair, and you're probably never folding kings, aces, queens.
So why wouldn't you just raise me there if he thinks if I think I'm that strong?
That's what I'm saying. Because he didn't raise, I don't think he has that hand. I think he has a hand that is speculative, better term for lack of a better term to use.
Okay.
But I do think he. Oh, here's the thing: we don't know what you have here. We don't know what your hand is.
Correct.
Anyway, what ended up happening was Jordan bet 70, C9 folded it, and this guy rips it in for literally $100 more. I'm sorry, $99.
I mean, $99 more.
But at this point, there's over $400 in the middle. It's 100 to win 400. Jordan's getting these like ridiculously sick odds. He should only be folding if he literally doesn't have like a pair. I think even if he has like, I don't know, queen 10, like for some reason, like some wacky reason, he has like queen 10 or something, I think he should even be calling. But his hand had to be so bad that he could not call off the extra 100. And when I mean bad, I mean like no pair. Maybe a draw. I think Jordan might have like...
I mean, I think there's hands there that I can fold that are pairs. I mean, I don't think I'm realistically betting 10s on that turn, but I think if you do bet 10s on that turn and that situation happens, I think it's a fold.
Right, and that's fine, but I don't think that's what you had.
I did not have 2 10s.
Did you have a pair?
I had 2 queens in my hand.
That's what I figured. That's what I thought that you had.
So the weird thing is I don't really dislike the king. Like the king should be an okay card for me, because a random king in that spot is just it's not there. Like nobody has ace king there, nobody has king queen, nobody has king 10. Like the random king should never be in that spot. But king jack could very well be there. So
like I said, that's the only hand I think that makes sense to you. I think given the pot odds, I think it's like he either has king jack.
Yeah, but now I have way less odds to win because I don't have an overcard now. Now, if he has king jack, like I have to hit a queen.
I understand that, but I don't understand. Like, did you not think that he's going to check raise all in?
No, I didn't. I didn't think the king should really be there.
So right, and did you like? Do you think he was sized appropriately?
What?
Your turn bet $70 and only having to call 100 more. Like literally, what does the raise have to be for you to just kind of call off and be like
if C9 puts it in, I think C9 had like $130. So
essentially,
it was like $60 more. Yeah, in there. I don't know. I mean, so here's the thing. My thought was I could just bomb this turn and commit myself, so that way it takes the bluff out of anyone's play. But I mean, I don't think there's ever a bluff here. There's never a bluff at this spot. Like, there's no shot they're ever making a move here. I mean, maybe the only hand is like 8-6, and I don't think this kid's capable.
9-10 double gutter.
I don't think
we talked about that.
We talked about
gutter on the flop, maybe with some back doors, and then
But I don't think this kid's capable of making a play in those spots.
That's what you thought, though, and then we saw the hand he played after that.
That is true. That's a little more information.
Okay, so long story short, for an additional 100 on the turn, Jordan folded. So nice hand, whatever. So literally, I think it was literally the very next hand. Another straddle, he limped in, and it was queen 8-9 on the flop. I think he checked, there was a bet, and he called. The turn went check, and then the river paired the board, I think 9s or something. And then he bet, I don't know what he bet. I think he bet like 60 or something like that, something funky.
Yeah.
And the guy called him with 2 10s, and he shows ace jack. And
this is literally like the hand after I fucking.
And I looked at Jordan, and I'm like, how do you feel about that? He's like, you can tell that Jordan was a little annoyed, I guess, by how that last hand played out, because that could very well mean that the hand prior, he folded the best hand. Now knowing that the guy is capable of making, a move like that.
I mean, I think maybe he had some chips, so he was willing to splash around and maybe make a little more plays right after the hand that he won with me. But I mean, so even after he got caught bluffing with ace high, I mean, he did what every fucking douchebag at the Silks does, and just picks up a rack and fucking heads out of there. So obviously,
it was too tough for him.
I was not a fan of that situation, but it is what it is, and those things happen, and it's all good. We still booked a win. We got really fucking lucky in a hand, but that doesn't matter.
Well, he had 2 people shove it all in when we had aces. Granted, they both had like $100, but basically that hand washes this hand, and then he opened one hand pre-flop to like $12, $15 or so. He got a bunch of callers, and the flop comes out. I look at his hand. He shows me one card. He's like a king of spades, and all he tells me is like, that's all you need to see. I know when Jordan says that, his hand is not that good.
No,
so I'm thinking like king 10, king jack maybe, never ace king, never pocket kings. So the flop comes out, king 6-3, 2 hearts. Big blind just open ships like first 170.
Little backstory about this guy.
No, I'm gonna get to that. Big blind open ships $175. Now this guy was playing pretty loose, pretty crazy. He was there to obviously gamble. He literally said, fuck it, when he had ace king against me when I had pocket queen.
Yeah, that was like a monster for him.
Well, granted, I wasn't folding my hand either way, obviously. And he was just splashing around in every hand. So, anyway, he goes all in for like 3 times the pot. Jordan's left to act with like 3 people left to act behind him.
I got a good view of everybody else. I could see everyone else was about to fold, so.
Well, knowing also how this guy was playing, Jordan's hand turned out to be king-queen. And after some deliberation, and he ended up calling, and the guy has him like in terrible
I mean,
shape.
obviously he has me. The hands I want him to have, I want him to have the flush draw. I want him to have like a worse king. No, he's got me.
He's got set. He got set at 3. So we did the math. Jordan is 5.8% on the flop.
I like my chances.
So the turn's an ace of hearts, and Jordan has king, queen with the queen of hearts. So
I did not know he had the queen of hearts. I knew it was red.
So we did the math again. He improved from 5.8% to 18.2%.
I'm basically a favorite.
And then the river was another heart, some brick heart, so he ends up with a nut flush. The guy turned over a set, which improved to a flush. Jordan turned over the nuts. Granted, remember, he was 5% on the flop, 18% on the turn. Check mark on the river.
I don't know why we're focusing so much on
I'm just saying we're going over like a couple key hands that happened. Those two were like the big ones. That one was kind of silly the way that it ran out. I'm not saying I'm pulling there either against that particular player because I think that's probably if there's nobody behind it, that's like a snap call. Like there's no doubt, there's like no question, no thought about it. Against him, it's a snap call. You get shown the bad news and just hope you get lucky, which you did, runner style. That's just how it goes.
Yeah, it felt all right. I mean, not going to lie. Not the best session I've ever had. Obviously, we made some mistakes.
I'm not going to lie. In that hand, I was not rooting for you. I was rooting for him. Him having chips is better than you having chips.
See, my friends root against me.
Same kind of scenario. Like, I'm pretty sure in the hand against Sue, you were not rooting for me. You were rooting for Sue to win.
I mean, I was honestly hoping for you guys to chop.
Sue.
I wanted Sue to get her money back.
Well, you didn't even know what these hands were.
No.
I mean, my hand should be face up.
You fucking snap. I knew you had the nut. And she said she had a straight, so I was just hoping she didn't have the 4-5, and she had the 9-5, and she did. So she did have chop outs.
I didn't even think about the 9-5 because that's like a fuck you straight. But then again, nobody should be calling a pre-flop raise with 9-5, suited or not.
She was suited, bro. And not only did she go from player X to a she, we've now mentioned her.
Yes.
All right. So it's all good. We all love Sue. Sue's one of our regulars there at Silks. She plays quite often. She likes the tournaments. So
very sweet lady.
We like playing with Sue. She's
but
good.
that's the thing with this room is there's a lot of regulars. There's a lot of people you're gonna play with all the time. A lot of them are very nice, mostly wealthy people, but are just as far as like poker goes. Let's just say it's like an expensive hobby for them. Like they're just not quite as good at it as a lot of other people, which to be honest is part of the reason I like playing there. A lot of people give action. A lot of people are just
Well, that's the poker community in general. I mean, if everybody was winning players, then you wouldn't have much of a community. So you need people who like to play for recreation, and sometimes they'll win, but most of the time maybe they'll lose, and that's what keeps the poker community running. So yeah, obviously we enjoy where we play, have a good time. Everyone's good people. That's the most important thing is we don't play with anyone that's like a scumbag. Like if you go to another place called Derby Lane, there's a few scumbags that play there. But no, Silks is a good place.
It's very homey. Everybody knows everybody. Just one of those rooms that you just kind of get comfortable in, and it's just I've been going there for the last 9 years, and I've never really ran into a problem. Never really had an issue there with any of the players, the supervisors, or any of that stuff. So it's a very homey kind of place that I still enjoy going to.
Now our friend Dustin Bradley gets into an incident there maybe every.
Yes, we will sometime this season have Dustin on the show to explain himself and just talk about how he feels about the poker room and just his life as a whole. He's a very interesting guy.
Dustin is what we call a clown. Let's be real.
Yes, but Dustin's one of those people you guys will learn. You either love him or you hate him. I personally love him.
He's a very polarizing character. That's for damn sure.
You gotta be able to take what he dishes you. Vice versa, he's usually good at taking what people dish, and maybe not as good as others, but that's how he is, and that's why he's my good friend.
Very entertaining guy. He talks a lot of shit, and then he doesn't understand why people get mad. That's what the best part is. He talks shit about everyone's game. He'll call you out if he thinks you're terrible at poker, and then he gets he's baffled that somebody doesn't like him. So Dustin will be definitely on the show, and we'll get Dustin's perspective of the Silks and how he thinks he plays. Let me just let you know, he thinks he's the GOAT, literally. So there's not going to be a lot of humbleness coming from Dustin Bradley when he's here, and that's part of the reason why he's an entertaining character. He sees things through a distorted view of himself. So he definitely is a good person to talk to and get his perspective on things.
Just know that if you ever play with Dustin, make sure you bring your pillow and blanket, because when it's his turn to act, he loves the cameras. There's no cameras around. I don't know if he knows that or if he's aware of that or not, but he loves to just Hollywood, take his time, and a lot of times he has like the nuts, so it's kind of like he's slow rolling somebody, but he just likes to put on the whole song and dance and the whole act. You agree with me? That's how he is.
I mean, you would think he's at the final table of WBT or something. He literally, everything's a decision, and it's
but it's not though. So, he thinks it is, but it's not.
So what I was curious about, Dan Lee, is obviously it's almost that time of year again. How excited on a scale of 1 to 10 nowadays? Obviously, we're a lot older now. Things have changed, obviously, in the poker world. But how excited are you for the WSOP coming up right around the corner?
Unfortunately, me and you, we go to the WSOP every single year, every summer. Neither of us really play the events, though. It's just, I like to go out there. First of all, it's Vegas, have a good time with your friends. And I like to play cash because the cash out there is just, it's phenomenal. It doesn't matter where the fuck you go. It doesn't matter what time of day it is. It's Vegas. Everyone's always awake. The games are always crazy.
Yeah.
I guess as I've grown older and considering I've never really played in these events, I'm not as excited as I was like the first or second time I went. It's just like another trip to Vegas, It's funny because the first couple of years it was like a business trip. And in the last couple of years, it's just been like kind of like a shit show, just go to like hang out and watch and watch. I got to get back in that like business trip mentality because the first 2 trips we went, I won. I won a poker, I won a table game.
Yeah,
I paid for my trip and then some. And the last couple of times, Vegas, they got me. They're always going to get you some way.
First of all, I like that it's not a business trip anymore. The business trip it was all right. We had a good time. We all went and played poker, but it's fun to dabble in the table games and get involved in the sin of Sin City. You can't just sit there and grind poker all the time. Got to experience everything, and sometimes it can get expensive. I blame a guy named Danny Lobato for one of my fucking meltdowns out there. Guy told me there was a table game out there that you can't lose.
They just give away money.
Literally impossible to lose. He said, Jordan, you got to be willing to grind for hours in this table game, and you got to be willing to get deep. So I did both. And I saw no ROI, and I blame Danny Lobato for that. So
I did good in that game.
Yes, because you run like God. So
he did. What he forgot to mention was that not only do you have to run good, you have to have like pretty deep pockets too. Because like one hand can literally cost you.
No, he mentioned
$100.
He said you gotta be willing to go in and get in a couple thousand. I was like, okay, cool. Like,
I feel like that's a couple thousand's a lot. Like, I would brought a couple thousand with me. So like, if I'm losing that all in one game on like the first day, it's not gonna be a good trip.
I was prepared for battle because you told me you can't lose. So in a game that you're telling me I can't lose, I don't care if I gotta get fucking 5K deep. We're making it happen. Well.
Yeah, 5K to win $100. That's really good ROI. That's essentially how like it works realistically.
Yeah, unless you're Dan Lee, you sit down and you just fucking make hands all day, and they just pay you money. So
I'm not gonna lie. The last couple times we went to Vegas, the table games and I have not seen eye to eye. Like we don't get along too often.
Yeah, so last time we went was October. How'd that session go for you?
Well, we played at Planet Hollywood, which was the hotel we usually stay in. And I like staying there because, number one, it's centrally located. The hotel is, like a younger, mid-generation. I like that as well. The whole casino is just cool. And I usually run pretty good when I stay there. This trip, not so much, I think we started our session at 3 card, and I'm pretty sure, like, right away the dealer just dealt herself a straight flush.
Yeah.
I think I was like the first or second hand we sat down.
Is that at the Venetian, though?
No, that was yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, like, is this really going to be how this trip is going to start? And yeah, it was. I should have been at a tall tale sign, like, Daniel, this might not be the greatest trip for you, so try to make your money last. And obviously I lost that night. I think Jordan lost too.
Yeah, I definitely lost the trip, and I'm pretty sure I lost that night, but... the thing is, when I get to Vegas, I should be in the poker rooms, but I really can't stay out of those pits.
For all of you that have not been to Vegas, like that are poker players, there is no way you're just playing poker. Like it's just not possible. You could be stuck like $1,000 for your trip. You can go to blackjack and literally get it all back. And because everything's open 24 hours. There's just I don't care how disciplined you are. There's just like no way around it. Like you'll walk past fucking craps and you see a hot roll, a hot hand, and you get in there and try to get your money back. You're either gonna win it back or you're gonna lose even more. And I've been on both sides of it before. So,
but hey, it's still a good place. Even if you go and you've never been before, great restaurants, cool entertainment, good shit to do. Anyone that's never been to Vegas, if you like to gamble, you like to play poker, you have to go. It's obviously something I've done since I've turned 21. I've been going every year, multiple times a year sometimes, and it's a good time. It's always a good time.